All right, guys, so we're going to be talking about the NAR settlement and the big news that hit in the last week. I'm Abel Ramos with Compass, Jackie Potter with Compass, and we're going to just talk about, we're not going to comment on anything about the lawsuit. We're going to talk about a few headlines, I guess, that's kind of being circulated out there and what it means for our clients.
I think, come July, what this looks like if you're looking to buy or sell
What does
any
this
kind of
mean?
real estate.
Another agent in our office who was talking to me about this screenshotted a response from one of her sellers and was like, does that mean we don't have to pay a commission now? Like, there's a lot of confusion and questions out there. So I just want to talk about the confusion, the headlines that are being misconstrued and misrepresented to clientele, sellers and home buyers. I just want to be, fact checked what's
100%.
out there. That's it. And then from the opinion of an agent.
Yeah.
That's it, right? So let's attack the biggest headline of them all, right? NAR settles the commission lawsuit, $400+ million. Compass officially has settled the lawsuit that was brought against them for like 57 or whatever it was $1 million. So officially able to talk about this kind of stuff freely now that the lawsuits are over and what it means. But let's start with the biggest headline here of all, which is the end of 6% commission, the end of commission fixing, and all this other, let's just call it malarkey instead of.
Ooh, I like it. I was going to say hoopla,
well,
but.
I was thinking hoopla, but I was like, let's just call it malarkey,
That's what it feels like.
Just a bunch of when I read that article, was it Wall Street Journal dropped it or Wall Street Journal Friday, I read
it's clickbait.
I was just like, wow, like what a
bold statement to make.
Like, oh my God, like I can't believe clients are reading this and like actually believe this stuff. That's what's scary, right?
Right.
It's a legitimate source reporting on this, and I was just like, wow, like crazy. So the end of 6% commission and why it will cease to be the norm. What do you think about that?
I mean, I think it's important to say that 6% commission is and was never a given. It's always been negotiable. And I think maybe this comes from, the fact that now on the MLS, you won't be putting a total commissions for the listing agent and the selling agent. The MLS will have nothing for the selling agent on there. So
let's back that up. So the biggest change that's going to be taking place in July is that as a listing agent, when you sign that listing contract, you will simply be negotiating your commission that you charge to the seller to represent them as the listing agent.
Right. So 6% was something generally that would be given 3%, to the listing agent, 3% to the agent that brings the buyer, right? That equals the 6%. So now if you're only negotiating with the representation that you have, that cuts it down to
3%, 3.5%, 2.5%, whatever it is your listing agent's charging, right? I'm typically 3.5% on most of my listings. So there's a perfect example for you. Like 9 times out of 10, I get 3.5% commission on my side, not 2.5%. But again, I'm pretty clear on what it is that we offer to a seller and why I need to earn this money and why I need to make this money in order to make sure their property is marketed this systematic way that we do it.
Right.
So sure, will that be the end of 6% commission? If you look at it that way, you, the seller, may be signing just a listing agreement that states 3.5% or 3% commission.
But even on that note, that's not the smartest way to go into this. I think sellers still need to, if they're looking to sell their home quickly, sell their home for the right price, they still do need to discuss what they're going to offer on the buyer side.
And I think that's what's going to make the difference between a good agent and not a good agent. Let's just say it that way.
And I think a lot of this comes from the fact that agents weren't communicating why they're earning this 3% on the listing side, And so I think agents have to get really clear on, yes, this is why I'm earning it when I'm listing. This is also why it's very important to compensate somebody who's bringing buyers to your home.
And I think if anyone wants to sell their house, that conversation is going to come up.
Yeah.
Right? We won't actually be able to offer that commission anymore through a sharing of our commission. Right now, we currently solicit both sides of commission. That will no longer be the case. The MLS will be removing the commission field. So, previously, in order to put your home on the MLS, you had to offer a commission. Now, that commission could have been as low as $1. It never had to be 2.5%. As a buyer's agent, you're scrolling the MLS, looking at all these homes for sale for your client, I guess evenly. Let's just call it evenly. No blinders put on, nothing to steer your client towards a higher paying home that's offering a higher commission, which I don't think many agents
I've
do.
never, yeah.
Because I've literally represented people for way less commission because it happened to be the house that they wanted.
That's
Like,
exactly what I did last year. I was
it's-
like, well, it is what it is. And my client even saw at the end of our transaction, hey, you made less than the listing agent. And I was like, hey, you guys needed this house. That's what I do.
and they came back to buy another one
They did,
in
exactly.
12 months.
Exactly.
So, we never make those decisions based on who's paying more. But anyways, going back to that. So we won't be sharing the commission that we solicit for both sides because that's not going to take place anymore. But having the dialogue with you, the seller, that if you want to sell your home, if you want to get it in front of the most people possible, if you want to get it in front of the most agents that are representing buyers, as much as we can, that topic of conversation is going to come up.
Yeah.
Are you willing to pay a selling agent commission? If so, which I think most sellers are going to say yes, how much? That's it. That's all that's
Right.
going to change. It's like, hey, are you willing to pay 2.5? So the commission is going to be 6% total, or it's going to be 5.5, or it's going to be 5. So the end of a 6% commission to me is just very misleading.
It is super misleading. It's something that's always up for negotiation. You get to have a very clear conversation. And I think agents who weren't doing what we do, which is explain everything that we do for you, those agents are going to struggle to, show the value of making their commission.
Or maybe in some other markets. And I'm speaking
Yeah.
specifically about my market. I don't care about anyone else's
Right.
market. Speaking specifically about our market.
We're very lucky to be in a cushioned small market where we hold each other accountable
with
as professionals.
very good agents.
Great agents and really smart clients. I mean, we live in a market where you're working with people who understand business, they understand finances, they understand that you have to spend money to make money. So I think that we do
Which means they also understand negotiation.
Yeah.
Because they're people that have money. And
sometimes they just like to negotiate.
And they didn't get money or make money in their life without being a negotiator.
Yeah.
So it's constantly being in that situation of negotiation. But I am very thankful to be in a market with a lot of good agents.
100%.
Let me say that right now. 100%, right? Because that means when they interview Susie and they interview us, there's probably not going to be much of a difference there in price of what we're offering as far as commission, because we all value what it is that we do. And we all understand that marketing a $2 million+ property costs money. A lot of money.
Yeah. The way we do it costs a lot of money.
Yeah, a lot of money. So, yeah, if you are a seller listening to this, the end of 6% commission, I think is very misleading. I don't think that's the case. But now you have an option, clearly an option to say you're not going to pay a buyer's agent commission. Okay? You've always had that option. Like $1. Could have been as low as $1.
Yeah.
But now you have an option to say I'm not paying anything, which, again, we've already hit that enough. I don't need to hit again.
I think that goes into the next question.
Right.
Are home prices then going to drop?
Right. So let's say that seller's not going to pay a commission. A lot of these articles are saying home prices are going to come down. Do you think in a low inventory market where a seller still has all the power, they're going to lower the price of their house by the amount that they were willing to pay a selling agent?
It doesn't make sense.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
It honestly hurts your home to do that, because if you pay the commission to the buying agent, then you're going to get more agents showing your home, and then you're going to get more buyers looking at it, drum up more competition, and then sell
Multiple
for more,
offers and sell for more, right?
instead of undercutting your listing.
Right. And on the flip side, I can see where they're saying that from a buyer's side. Like the buyer may offer
less.
3% less or 2.5% less because they may have to be paying their agent. But again, is their offer going to get accepted? I mean, I
No,
don't
if
know.
somebody wants it bad enough.
Yeah,
We've
if
seen
it's
people,
a really good house,
I mean, in February, we saw a home go for $1
$1
million
million over the asking price.
over asking. So a buyer is gonna pay their agent and pay over asking for the homes that are in our market if they want it bad enough.
Or offer that $1 million over and negotiate that you pay their buyer's agent the
Yep.
commission. So there'll just be more negotiation taking place. I think that's really what it is. I don't think prices are going to come down at all unless inventory increases, which that's not happening.
Right.
So I think prices in our market are stable and they're going to be fine.
Yep.
That's what I think.
I agree.
Steering will be less common. Again, we talked about that a little bit. I
think I just referenced a time where it might actually be more common now, because if you're offering a buy side commission, agents are going to be super excited to show your home, and they're going to be bringing all these kinds of buyers there, and buyers are going to be excited about your home because they don't have to pay their agent. So I actually think that this doesn't stop steering. It just changes
I don't
the
think
steering
it
that's
stops steering
happening
at all. It's going to probably be worse.
Buyers are going to be the ones steering now because they're only going to want to go to homes
that
where they know they're not going to pay.
That I just think is all going to be a mess.
I think
we'll figure it all out. We'll have to figure out how commissions are even advertised because they're not advertised on the MLS, which is fine. There are plenty of other ways for us as agents to advertise commission, to represent you, the seller, and let people know that you're paying a commission. But let's go back to one of our final things here that we'll talk about. What does this mean for a buyer?
Yeah.
Right? I think it means a few things. One, you could be put in a bad situation where you don't have representation, or you're forced to be in a situation without representation because you are in a crappy deal where the listing agent's the seller is not paying a commission directly to your agent. Your agent maybe refused to work for nothing, which I would refuse to work for nothing as well.
100%.
And you're going to be representing yourself. That's scary. I would never do that. That's just really scary for the consumer.
Yeah, it's super scary. But I think, what you're looking at as a buyer is, okay, it's expensive to get into our market to save for a down payment. It's expensive monthly to pay for your mortgage. And now you have this added cost on paying your agent. And so you're in a position where you're like,
$50,000, $60,000 in our market.
Right. So you're nervous. Oh, I don't really want to do that. Maybe I don't want to commit and sign that buyer broker agreement. Because
we talked about that. Was one of the biggest changes, right? They're wanting now every buyer come July to enter into a buyer agency agreement with an agent prior to touring any homes.
So imagine for you that have bought or have thought about purchasing, you meet an agent right off the bat. They're going to show you a home. Beforehand, you have to get into a contract that says you will cover the commission, and you guys can decide what that amount is going to be, but you will be paying the commission unless otherwise compensated outside of this agreement, right? So now you're a buyer. You have to pay a down payment. You have to pay a high monthly mortgage, and now you have to pay a buyer's agent. So you might be thinking,
and closing costs of the loan if you're getting a loan,
for sure,
right? And if you're not getting a loan, you still have closing costs as far as escrow, title, taxes, insurance, all this other stuff. So it's very expensive.
For sure. So you're in a mindset where maybe you're trying to save money. Maybe you either want to go directly through the listing agent because they'll already get paid on the sale since they have their own contract. But
let's stop right there, because I've thought about this very, very carefully. If I was in that situation, though, I'm not representing a buyer for free. So if I'm going to take on dual agency in that situation in order to have a buyer protected with representation, I'm going to need to get paid more money to the seller. So right there in itself, it's like,
you're going to be paying.
You're going to be paying. So it's already a little misleading to me to think that a seller is not going to have to pay a buyer's agent if the buyer's going to be unrepresented, or if they're going to come to you directly, you're going to charge them money.
Well, you have to. You're still doing work, and you're still taking on the liability
Double the
of
liability,
representation.
which some would argue is way more liable to be in a dual agency transaction than than being a single agent, like a listing agent or a buyer's agent.
100%. And you're going to be paying on that side. Okay. Then let's say you negotiate or you try to find an agent that is offering a lot less than most agents. But what is it that they're actually offering in service, right? If they're taking away their money, if they're not valuing their time or their experience or their service, you again could be opening yourself up to a lack of representation and ultimately.
Which I think the buyer agency agreement, I've been using buyer agency agreements for several years now after getting screwed over on a deal pretty bad. And I told myself it'll never happen to me again. I will sign a buyer agency agreement with every client. And if they refuse to sign it, I will not represent you. And that's fine. I've lived by that for the last 5 or 6 years, and I do not regret it. But I think they're great. Now they're going to want us to pretty much like I was telling Jack, it's like a listing presentation, but for the buyers. You're going to need to clearly lay out what it is you're willing to do, or what it is you do when representing a buyer client in order to earn X percentage commission, right? And then they have to agree to pay you that, in hopes that, again, you can negotiate that in somewhere in the trap. We'll see how we end up doing it. It's going to be negotiated in, or maybe the seller is still offering a commission to the selling agent. Who knows? We'll figure all that out. At the end of the day, if no one pays, that buyer is responsible for payment. So what they're hoping is that at least the conversation of negotiation from a buyer and a buyer's agent is going to take place. Maybe putting downward pressure on a buyer's agent commission because the buyer and the buyer's agent are negotiating together. Going back to your point, if someone's negotiating lower or offering lower fees, what kind of representation are you getting?
Right.
That to me is the bigger problem. This is the lowest, this industry has the lowest barrier of
To
entry.
entry.
I've seen some pretty bad agents in my career, who've taken the test probably 10, 12 times in order to pass, and then finally just passed it because they took all the tests that were being offered.
That's crazy.
So they
to me.
recycled it and finally memorized some answers.
That should be your first question. How long did it take you to actually pass that test? Because if it's more
than like one or two, like you got a red flag there. So anyways, lowest barrier of entry, probably one of the most sophisticated businesses to be in, personally.
Especially in a market like this.
And dealing with contracts, that's scary.
Legal
contracts.
Deeds.
Getting you into transactions that can lead to lawsuits and arbitration. Yeah. It's pretty important. So,
let alone it's your home. It is representing a home that you are living in.
The most amount of money you're ever going to spend,
right.
Most likely. So,
if you have somebody undercutting themselves,
what are you really opening yourself up to? That's my biggest concern for a buyer.
Like we negotiate our commission, but there's a reason we don't go under a certain amount. It's because we can't do our job the way we do without getting and earning the money that we do. We put so much into it. We put so much energy, time, and money into it that we just can't go below a certain amount. It doesn't make sense for our business.
Not worth my time.
If you're talking to people that are, you just have to, think about that.
As I get older, which has happened pretty quick, I learned that literally there's always these lessons where I'm always like, man, you really get what you pay for.
Yeah.
And I learned that over and over and over again until I finally just stopped saying I'm going to look for the cheapest deal or the best deal. I'm just like,
Me too.
If I trust you and you're going to get it done and you're charging me X amount, get it done, bro.
Peace of mind to be done correctly is,
and I'm taking
it's
care
worth
of
everything.
And I establish a relationship with this person where I know they have my back in that field and I can always call so-and-so and I have to pay, but I know I'm taken care of. I don't care.
It's so worth it.
It is.
It's so worth it.
So for buyers that are out there that are going to be in maybe tight financial situations where having to pay a buyer's agent could be a burden or could be financially not possible, I feel like the only thing this lawsuit did was make that worse.
Harder, more expensive, scarier.
and riskier. And just
open you up to a liability because it's already so hard to get into our market that you can't even afford to pay an extra $10, $20, $30, $40,000.
$40,000, $50,000. Like, and that's at the median sales price. Some of our deals are $100,000. Like, I mean, I'm really bummed that they did that.
Yeah.
And what it did, to be honest with you, because I did come from another market. So I've experienced a whole nother market, a whole different price point. What it did, in my opinion, is it's going to put more pressure on the buyers that are buying those entry-level, first-time buyer homes that barely have enough money to get in, that are going to be forced into crappy situations to work with crappy agents. And that to me is the one that sticks out the most.
It's super disappointing to have all of this go down.
You're going to hurt the VA buyers. You're going to hurt the FHA buyers.
100%.
You're going to hurt the people that are first-time home buyers that barely have enough money, that have worked their butts off for years to save a $30,000 down payment or whatever.
Yeah, and that being said, those are the ones we're usually working the hardest on, or the
those are the toughest
people.
deals.
Yeah,
as far as the reason why I don't work in that market anymore. They're the toughest deals.
Yeah, it is. It's really hard. It's really hard to get people qualified and get the competition going and get them to win when they barely have enough to go over. And we work our butts off for those people. And it's unfortunate that this situation makes that hard to do for both the buyer and the buyer's agent.
For sure, because the next thing that's being said is 1 million agents are going to leave the industry.
Right.
So it's like, wow, that's a lot of people. And sure, that sounds great for me. Like, I'd love for 1 million people left the business.
Right, and it weeds out a lot of the people that took the test 10 times.
Anything we can do to raise the standards of our profession and our industry, I'm all for.
Right.
All for it.
Right.
Right? Again, another reason why I love being here. It's like competing in the NFL to me.
Yeah.
It's why I wanted to do it.
Totally.
It's like, if I want to see how good I am, I want to compete with the best.
Exactly.
It's really what I think.
That's what makes this fun.
Right.
It's fun to work with these professionals.
Right. And it's fun to win.
Yeah.
It sucks to lose, right? But I always get better when I lose. But
when you lose, you just learn to win later.
I apply every lesson there to go, damn, I got beat by that agent. Okay, cool. What is it that they did differently? And how am I going to make my game stronger? Totally. And that's what excites me, right? getting better and winning later, right? So it's just one of those things where I feel like the news out there is misconstruing everything. I don't think this is as bad as the way everyone's making it sound. I think sellers are still going to be paying a good amount of commission.
Yep.
Right? If you're working with a good agent that's having good dialogue and conversations with you. I think buyers are going to be pressured to possibly look into dual agency or being unrepresented. That's scary. I think buyers agents may have some downward pressure on commission because, again, I think there will be some price wars on that side just because a lot of buyers have barely enough money to get into it.
Yeah.
And I think that the cousin Julies that just got their license that are looking to work with family members that have no experience are going to probably be pressured out of the business. So I think there will be a lot of agents that do leave the profession, which is, that's fine too.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much my take. I don't think, I don't know if there's anything else we need to cover about that.
I don't think so. I think just here in Santa Barbara, like we mentioned, we have a high enough standard with the agents that we work within and a high standard with the people who are selling homes here that they understand the value in paying the right agents commission.
Yeah, because luxury service has always been expensive, but having bad representation can cost you a fortune in this industry, right?
Exactly. Leave it on that note. I mean, take that for what that is. That's exactly what's going to be
So if you're
happening.
looking for agents that offer luxury service and that are, going to take care of you and represent you the way you want to be represented, but expect to be compensated fairly, reach out to us. I'm Abel Ramos with Compass.
I'm Jackie Potter.
Catch you next time.